Hi, welcome back to What Did You Learn? My name is Ahava Leibtag, and I'm really excited to be here with John Marzano. John is the principal of Jam3 Strategic Marketing and PR. And welcome, John. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Ahava. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, another experienced healthcare marketing veteran. I don't even know. I can't even believe I can call myself that, but it's been 15 years. So I guess at some point I deserve some sort of.
You qualify. You definitely qualify.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So John, tell us a little bit about yourself, for those of my audience who may not know you or those who even know you and want to hear more about you.
Well, I have about 25 plus years experience in healthcare marketing and communications. I've worked for several health networks in different parts of the country. So bring a lot of strategic marketing, strategic communications, crisis and issues management, and typically general PR to the table. And these past 2 years, I've been working in my own organization, trying to use that experience and to help other organizations as you go through, lots of changes in the delivery model.
Sure. So I always like to ask other people who have been where I have been, what's the craziest story you have involving a physician?
Craziest story involving a physician. Oh my, if I can keep this short.
You can, but try.
Yeah, it goes to my days at Orlando Health. A great cardiologist who is a personal friend challenged me and my team in a meeting, actually challenged me in front of my team, which was kind of funny. He was demanding his own personal marketing and salesperson for his practice. And I said, well, we're changing the strategy a little bit. We're going much more digital, multi-channel. And if you give me some trust for the next 3 or 4 months, I'll prove to you that will help drive your business. I said, I don't have the resources to give you that specifically. And he basically said to me in front of my team, push your big boy pants on and get that for me, will you please? And so everyone kind of looked at each other, looked at me to see what I was going to do. And part of me chuckled because it was kind of hilarious at the time. But we laugh about it since that time. So, but it was one of those moments when, okay, what do you do in front of your team when a doc tells you that?
Yeah, I've been in the room when those things have happened, but most of the time they're directed at me, and I don't even work for the hospital.
Right.
But yeah, I think the bravest person in the room sometimes gets shot down the most often. So I'll take that label too. So John, I wonder, how have you been spending the last 7,000 years that we've all been locked up in our homes?
Well, it's been sort of a mixed bag. I was working fairly steadily before the pandemic hit. And then once that happened, it's now readjusting, trying to stay relevant and current, networking like crazy, trying to connect with peers and colleagues throughout the country, both that I know and those that I don't know. So it's been a mix of that. It's been a mix of being around the house more than I'd like to. I've rediscovered playing golf, which, working all those years, you really got away from it. But now I have a regular group that I play with at least on a weekly basis. So that's been kind of fun. And it's actually one of the things you can do in this pandemic that really is relatively normal when you look at everything out there. So I've been trying to mix it up and keep my sanity, if you will, out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I never thought that I would open up my emails with people. I hope you're just keeping safe and sane.
Yes.
That's not something that I expected to happen. So speaking of that, and by the way, I don't know, Mark Twain said, golf is a good walk spoiled.
Right. Yeah, it's a game you can never master. I've been playing it my whole life. You can never master it. Sometimes you get really good at it for a while, and that keeps you coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the best things when it's a mental game and a physical game. So obviously, as a consultant, and I understand the feeling because I'm in the same position. Although, I'm lucky enough to have a pretty large team behind me, and most of the time in front of me, if I'm being honest with myself. But what do you wish somebody had told you before this started? I understand that as, a consultant, it would have been good to have been doing business planning and things like that. But in terms of healthcare marketing and what you know about your clear many years of experience and expertise in this field, what do you wish you could have been prepared for or have known?
I think like many, I was impatient. You're so used to working nonstop that when this happened, your first reaction is, well, how long are we going to have to deal with this? And, early on, the misinformation that was out there, and unfortunately that still continues, leaves us wondering, okay, what's the right information to believe in? So I think that was eye-opening. How long is this going to last? And it was obvious it's going to last a lot longer than we all thought. And we all very quickly realized that this was becoming a moment of time where everything would change forever. And the ripple effect of this is greater than we thought. And the aftermath is going to be much more challenging. So I think that sets us up for, I don't think anyone realized the impact it was going to have on just human nature.
Yeah. So say more about that in the context of healthcare, because you talked a little bit about when we communicated about, how retail is really going to change
Right.
healthcare. And one of the things that I think has been so fascinating about watching this from afar and as also part of the healthcare systems that are in place, to me, what seems like is happening is that Americans have developed more trust towards their healthcare workers and less trust towards healthcare expertise and research.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for people to hear, this is novel. We really don't know this thing. We don't know what it is. And look at how much progress they've made in taking better care of people who have it. But I think the American public sort of is in this weird quandary of, do I trust my doctor? But look at how much my doctor has done. So how do you think that's going to change hospitals as businesses?
Well, it's interesting. I have a theory about what's going on now, and it reminds me of a movie, an older movie called Cool Hand Luke. If you've ever seen the movie or your viewers have seen that movie, Paul Newman stars as an inmate in a Southern prison or work group, and he's belligerent and he gets in trouble all the time, and so do the inmates. And the warden obviously doesn't like that. And the warden does this speech to the inmates and basically says, what we have here is failure to communicate. And so I think this is translating throughout healthcare marketing now and the challenges that the industry is facing. There are so many new tools in healthcare, particularly in the way we talk to patients. Vendors have products, tech vendors have the ability to solve utilization issues and get people back into services. But what's really lacking is that communication platform, talking to consumers in the way that meets their needs. Reassure them of the benefits of getting the necessary care, the safety and service in a hospital or physician office that's similar or comparable to a CVS or a Walmart. The interesting thing right now is people feel safer going into a CVS or a Walmart versus going to their physician office or in the hospital. The dynamic of that is really interesting. And I think it goes back to communications.
So what communication platform would that be? You're talking about like websites or an overall general platform?
I think it's the messaging. I think, there's a statement I always use. It's called prowess phrasing. I still see that throughout healthcare, that organizations are staking claim to how great they are. And the consumer is saying, I don't really need to hear that. I mean, if I'm trusting you, if you're my local provider already, give me the information that's going to help me make informed decisions. Don't tell me that you've treated more COVID cases. Don't tell me that you have, this recognition or that recognition. I think that sort of message is falling on deaf ears, and that's what gives people the sense of not being completely secure with their healthcare providers.
How does a healthcare system establish authority and trust, and I'm not saying go into it like a bull in a china shop where you come in and you're like, look at how great we are and we beat ourselves on our chest, but a patient is coming to find out, I need to come into the hospital for X procedure. What do I need to know? And why would it be bad for a hospital to say, we just want you to know we've treated this many COVID patients. Here's what you need to know, because they want to establish trust that if, God forbid, something happens, we can treat you. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to use that messaging?
Well, I think
and
that
my second question is then how do you create trust and authority? Because that's really what people want to know is, am I going to be well taken care of?
Yeah. I think, the easy answer to your second question is I don't think there's a clear answer yet. I think organizations are trying to figure out what the right message is to re-engage those patients, to re-engage people back in. I think right now the industry's failing that. And that's the challenge that we all face and how we have to look at things. I think, your first question is, I think that kind of message works best within the context of the brand. How are you pushing your brand to the community? How are you showcasing your brand above and beyond the products and the services that you sell? You can incorporate that information in there. But I think if there's a moment of need situation where I need to make a quick decision about, okay, where do I get a test? If I need a test, if I'm positive, what are the next steps? I need to have that dialogue consistently with my provider, whether it's a physician or a network. Where do I go? Where's the location? What are the hours? Those kinds of things to help reassure people that we've got this. Now, once you get in there, yeah, we expect we're going to be able to care for you and treat you and get you better. But getting you there, it's always been the challenge in healthcare, right? How to navigate, getting in the door. It's always been a challenge.
Okay, so what do you think is the most important thing that you've learned, either from a personal or a healthcare marketing perspective, or just a marketing or PR perspective?
Well, I think flexibility and patience.
I'm not patient either, so I'm right there.
I know, and the ability to adapt through changing dynamics. As I said earlier, this pandemic is changing everything, and it's really forced a lot of change in healthcare that's been sort of languishing over the years. And specifically, telehealth was great. I think remote working situations, is now the norm almost. You have many companies who are not going back to normal. So I think having that flexibility, that patience, that trust in your employees, and the ability to adapt. Those who follow me know I'm a big fan of Billy Beane and Moneyball. And his motto is
Moneyball earlier today. That's crazy.
Yeah, his motto is
on Netflix. Everyone's talking about it.
I know it's actually on Netflix right now. So it's it's adapt or die. So you have to adapt when these situations present themselves. You have to adapt and move forward. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. And so for me, that's the biggest thing. Continue, one step in front of the other. Continue to move forward, and not get caught up in the status quo and the way things used to be, because I don't think we're ever going back.
So, John, we're at a conference in 2 years from now when they let us fly around the country. Hopefully we're not wearing masks. We've both been vaccinated or whatever, magically cured. And you turn to me and you say, you know what, Ahava, I learned this during the pandemic and I never want to let it go as a skill or a thinking pattern or whatever it is. What is that thing?
Oh, I would say learning and teaching myself to do more video networking. I've done a number of podcasts, actually produced a couple of very parochial videos and posted on LinkedIn with some of my perspectives. So I'm glad I'm learning that opportunity, and I'll evolve that as I go through this. It's not an easy thing to do, as I'm sure you know, and and other clients and other colleagues have told me is one of the most difficult things to do is to put yourself on camera and sound articulate enough to make sense, right? So
that's why I just let other people sound articulate.
yeah, exactly. You just asked the questions, right? No, so I'm glad I took the opportunity to do that. I'm glad I'm doing networking with peers and colleagues out there. And, that's been eye-opening because as you talk to different people in different parts of the country, you're seeing very different execution out there as people are going through this. So I think that's been both eye-opening, interesting, and a learning experience.
John, where can people find you?
People can find me on LinkedIn, either personally or through my business site at Jam3 Strategic Marketing and PR.com. There's a website there. They can connect with me. I have a blog post that's on there, which addresses a whole sorts of healthcare issues.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's great. Thanks, Ahava, for having me.
Absolutely. If you found this video on LinkedIn, you can probably find a longer version on YouTube, and we're also available anywhere where you find your podcasts underneath the podcast title, What Did You Learn? Thank you so much for being here with John. We'll see you next week.